What's up, friends? It's Haley, aka Bird, and you are tuning in to the Give 'em the Bird podcast. This podcast is all about challenging what it means to be healthy and fit. It's about celebrating sustainable behavior change and non-scale victories. And most importantly, it's about giving the bird to the diet industry and societal expectations of body size. Why? Well, because at the end of the day, you have an entire life to live that does not require your body look a certain way. Thanks for tuning in. Now let's give 'em the bird. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Give 'em the Bird podcast. My name is Haley, aka Bird. I'm a weight-neutral health coach and certified intuitive eating counselor, and I'm so excited to share today's episode with you. I got to connect and chat again with the amazing Cara Flynn. I'm not even going to try to introduce Cara because I'm going to read her bio, which is just amazing. You can tell she is meant to speak when you hear her talk, and you will be able to tell that she is meant to write when I read her bio. But a little bit of background, I first was introduced or influenced by Cara back in 2019 at a women's empowerment event. And immediately when she told her story, which is what she shares today on this episode, I was just blown away by this woman. Like, everything about her captivated me. Her words, her actions, her eye contact, her facial expressions. Like, I was smitten. I was so enthralled by Cara. And then I got to take some yoga classes with her as I did my first 100 hours of my yoga teacher training. And we had been connected somewhat through my sister, through fitness and strength training. And then Cara reached out to me, it would have been in February of this year, so February of 2022, to ask if I would speak at one of her events and we talk about that on this episode. And I was just freaking blown away that she wanted me to speak at one of her events. And then as a participant at the event, I heard her tell her story again. And that same exact electrifying feeling where just magnetic, and she pulled me in, and I was like, you got to be on the podcast. You have to share your story. So that is what Cara Flynn does on today's episode. I want to read her bio. This is what she sent to me in an email, and it's so good. So here's a little bit more about Cara. She said, "Oh, the dreaded bio. I'm not quite sure what you all might want to know up front, but hey, if you're game, I'm game. Born in the 70s, late 70s, mind you, a child of the 80s, a flannel wearing, cigarette smoking, reality bites loving, pretend adult of the 90s, followed up by the most unexpected experiences as a young wife, mother, divorcee, surprise stay-at-home mom, new wife of an entrepreneur, wreck of a woman that feared it all, finding my way into midlife, not with a crisis, but with a passion. Who loves a run-on sentence? Me." I love that so much. "I currently am the owner of a small and challenged but amazing yoga studio in downtown Iowa City called Bender's Studio. It sits smack dab in the center of the land of the forever young, the University of Iowa. Although I struggle to find success financially, this studio has provided a space for people to learn about themselves and to find out that they are so much more than what their reflection tells them. Thank goodness my partner in crime does not struggle with success, as he is an entrepreneur following some big dreams in the area through creating amazing spaces for people to drink, eat, and gather. Brian Flynn reminds me daily to be brave and dig deep. I am a mom to 3 amazing kiddos that make my head spin and heart explode daily. Like my other roles in life, I'm definitely not going to win awards, but I hit the jackpot and love this mom gig a lot, especially now that they aren't babies and can put on their own socks. In 2020, I decided to embark on a project of the heart. The goal was to bring women together so that we could witness the power in each of us and to remove the barriers that we put up and hold us back from our dreams. Beyond Barriers has turned into so much more than I could ever imagine, and I love that I get to be on this ride with women that inspire me daily. I am you. I am the woman that sometimes hates her body, questions her life choices, loves every decision she has made, is damn proud of the body she inhabits, and maybe tomorrow might open up a bakery. Just kidding, I can't bake for shit. I change my mind, I change my direction, but I always come back to me. Grateful to be on the journey and ready to start a new one." How amazing is that bio? I knew when I first read her bio that she emailed to me that I was not going to change the I's to she's or add in the Cara instead of, me or my. I wanted to read this exactly as Cara typed it, and so I did. And this woman really needs no introduction, yet she deserves all the recognition and acknowledgement that a woman can have. When you spend the next hour listening to her speak, I promise you are going to feel the same electric magnetic energy that I did first in 2019 hearing her speak, and then again just a few months ago as I was able to attend her Beyond Barriers event. I am so excited for you to dive into this episode, so I'm not going to waste any more time. If you want to connect with Cara, you can check out benderstudio.com, Bender Studio on Facebook or Instagram, Beyond Barriers Iowa on Facebook or Instagram, or you can email her at info@benderstudio.com. All of that information is included in the show notes. All right, everybody, enjoy this amazing, brilliant conversation with one of the most incredible women that I've had a chance to meet, Cara Flynn. All right, hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Give 'em the Bird podcast. On today's episode, I am chatting with one of my favorite people in the freaking world, Cara Flynn. Hi, Cara, welcome.
Hi, I'm so excited and nervous, and I feel like this is a taste of my own medicine right now.
Yeah, no shit. This is payback for making me speak. No, that was awesome. Yeah, so a little background for folks. When was that? Was that in February?
That was.
Yeah, so back in February, Cara had me speak at an event of hers, and I'm going to let her talk all about it. But while I was there as like a participant, as an attendee, I got to hear Cara's story. And I was like, this woman is a force to be reckoned with. She's fucking hilarious. And her story just like I couldn't stop. I just wanted more. Like I was like, no, I don't want somebody else to speak. Will you just keep talking, please? And in that moment, I was like, absolutely, you need to be on the podcast. So before we dive into all things, Beyond Barriers, which is your event and your like your project and all of this, and tell us more about who you are. Give us an overview of you.
Oh, I feel like that's the hardest. It's like somebody saying, write me a bio. When you said that, I was like, oh, God,
shit.
Okay, fine. I'll figure that one out. No, I feel like I should start with like, I'm 40. I'm 45. Yes, I'm 40. I never thought that was going to be a real thing, but like
forgetting your age.
Yeah, mm-hmm. It really happens. And I'm a mom of like three beautiful kids. My oldest is 22. I always round up, so I have to watch that. Like I start rounding up about 5 days after their birthday. So my oldest is 22, and she's amazing, Samantha. And then I've got AJ, who's 14, and he's a pretty cool kid. Talk about an authentic liver. And then my youngest, Lauren, she is the force. She is my exclamation point.
Yes.
Yeah, she's 11, and it's just going to be a rough few years, but I love her dearly.
We love exclamation points when we're not the ones having to
raise them.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I say that knowing that I've never had children, and if I do decide to have kids, like I'm fucked. Like
yeah, you're gonna have a whole bunch of exclamations.
Yeah, they're gonna be like, oh gosh. And knowing, I mean, Tyler's calm and cool now, but like as a kid, he was a piece of work. He was a handful. So
weird. Like it's so weird. Like they like constantly try to kill themselves from the minute they can walk until 5. And then they go to school and they kind of like get themselves underneath them. And then they turn into a jerk like around 11 or 12, but that only sticks around for a short amount of time. And now AJ's like 14, and he's so fun and he's so like whatever, and he's kind of embarrassed by me, but like not really.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wow. I feel like if I can't imagine a kid being embarrassed by you, like all I would want to do is hang out with you all the time. But again, this is a nearly 30-year-old brain, not a 14-year-old brain talking.
Oh, sorry. I am going to go off on tangents. I apologize.
I
Like
told
that.
you I told you before we started recording that tangents are welcome here. Like even if we don't talk anything health, fitness, body image, like I just want your voice to be heard by the listeners. Like you as you are, and everything you say is exactly as it's supposed to be said. So I
Oh,
love
you're the
it.
best. Thank
No,
you.
you are.
You do. I appreciate you liking the chaotic nature of my brain. I appreciate that. Yeah, no, so my husband and I own restaurants. Well, he does that part. I like to put myself into it just because it makes me sound cooler. But we own restaurants in the area and bars. That's where we met. And like then I'm a yoga studio owner, vendors, and then I do this like passion project of beyond barriers. So,
Mm.
and then I ride horses, and I like to be outside.
And the horses part is whenever I think about you, I think about horses and yoga because when I first heard you talk, it was at Bootbod's event, the what was it?
Level up.
Level Up event. Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't
that's
even remember
so
when that was. That
amazing.
was a few years ago. And you talked
Yeah.
about how you talked about how for the you do this like one thing per year that you hate and you give yourself a year to do it. And one of
Mm-hmm.
those things was horses.
Horseback riding. Yeah,
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 and now you have a horse. And I tell us about this one thing per year that you hate. Like tell me more about that.
yeah, yeah. So I'm kind of it was after I had AJ. So Samantha, and this feels a little derailed, but Samantha, I had as a C-section,
Mm,
and I was young, and I went to like Lamaze class, and like I was like, I'm doing this naturally, whatever, and of course, she's upside down, um, and I need to have a C-section, and I felt robbed, like I felt like I don't know. It's the weirdest thing to describe because it's like beautiful, healthy child ended up in my lap who like slept through the night at 2 weeks old and potty trained herself. Like she did not prepare me for motherhood. I was like, I'm so good at this. I'm
this shit's
so
easy.
flipping good. Like, why does anybody ever think that motherhood's like a challenge? Enter the other two. But I did. I felt like, I felt like that I had screwed up, that I had let my like I didn't get to have this experience. And then on top of that, I like produced enough milk to like feed a baby kitten, maybe. And so I like starved her. I remember calling my mom in the middle of the night. My mom had been there for 2 weeks with me. She like goes home and she's home for like 4 hours. And I call her and I said, I think I need you to come back. I don't know what to do. Like my boobs are bleeding everywhere.
Oh,
And she said, go downstairs. You have formula and bottles. Well, like give her a bottle. You should not be like, there's no reason to hate this. You have a way to feed her. God bless my mom. Thank God she said that. And so in went the bottle and I started to enjoy motherhood at that point. But
mm,
I always wanted to do that whole labor and delivery thing. So flash forward almost 9 years later, I get pregnant with AJ, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this. Like, hopefully I can do this. So I went to the midwives at the university, and they allowed me the opportunity to do a VBAC because there didn't seem to be any reason that I couldn't.
wait, what's a
So,
VBAC?
a vaginal birth after
Oh, C-section.
C-section.
Okay, that makes
Yeah,
sense.
because some doctors won't do it just because there can be scar tissue. Like it
Right.
totally makes sense, safety. But they were like, hey, she was breech and it's been almost 9 years. So I went in with AJ, like I kind of held him in. I was like, no, I'm not really in labor. Maybe I am. Oh, I think I am. And we were about, I have a really high pain tolerance. My
Mm.
husband knows this about me. And so he was nervous. And I was like, I think they're like a minute apart. Maybe we should go to the hospital now. So we went to the hospital. He was actually like like close to being ready to come out. Thank God my mom got there. Once again, she saved me from having him on the toilet because that I was like sure that it's like, no, it's only been 2 hours. So there's no way to be ready to have this baby. And come to find out, like I was beyond ready to have this baby.
Wow.
So 2 pushes, he was out. And I know I make it sound like, oh, it's great, but it really was. Like I loved it. I loved how I felt about myself. And all of a sudden, like he came out and I like stepped into a new person. I mean, I don't even know how to describe it. Like
that gives me chills. I just got the chills.
It really, he was a tough baby, but I started letting go of stuff. I don't know if it was like all, 215 pounds of me crawling up naked onto it. My poor husband, he's like trying to because I'm a pretty I like to be clothed, I don't walk around my house naked ever. And he's like, oh God. I'm like, it's fine. Bring in this U of I marching band. I just get the clothes off of me. I can't stand this. It was so funny. But yeah, I really did. I stopped caring so much about everything. And I started chasing that high. And obviously, I mean, I love being a mom, but I don't want to be a mom to a whole bunch of kids.
Right.
If I could just do labor and delivery for every woman out there, I totally would do it. But
wow.
Yeah, I really liked it. I know it's weird. But mine's short and really nice.
Yeah.
Super easy. But yeah, so I started chasing that, and that was when my sister suggested I start running. She's a big runner, and she had run several marathons, and so I barely made it to. It took me probably a month to get to the stop sign and back, and I would call her and I'd be like, "What the fuck were you thinking? This is so stupid. Why am I running?" That ended up turning into a marathon. I ended up doing a marathon, and I literally crossed the line. I was like, I'm done. Peace out. I'm not a runner. Yes. My body feels like it's hit by a train.
I did the same thing when I finished a marathon. I was like, okay, bye, done. See you never. Not for me.
Yeah, I feel like I will lace up my shoes every once in a while, but that's about it.
Yeah.
Oh, I think I like running, and then I get out there. I'm like, oh no, it's not for me. But I became a goal junkie. That's when I started doing kettlebells, and I went and got trained, and which is really weird since I'm not type A. I don't follow any rules. Even for the marathon, I think the furthest I ran was 15 miles. I didn't have that attention span. I don't have it in me. And at the time, my husband was building his restaurants, right? And I was a stay-at-home mom, and I was really bad at it. I really did not enjoy being a stay-at-home mom. I just I got lost in me, and I was looking back now. I was obviously very depressed. Probably had pretty severe postpartum depression. And I got lost. And between running, joining this beautiful gym that does not exist anymore, it was called Body and Balance. It was a women's only gym.
Oh, cool.
And I met they're still some of the dearest women in my life. They got me through the dark spot. They found, they helped me find me, and they helped me embrace motherhood. They helped me say, I'm never going to do the crafts at home. I'm going to be and that's okay. Fuck it. Who cares? Send them to a class where they can do crafts and get an hour off.
Yes.
But that was fitness, because before this, all I did was smoke cigarettes. That's how I maintained my weight. I smoked cigarettes and drank coffee and running, whatever. But sorry, I sidetracked. But that's when the kettlebells entered in, and then I became the soul junkie, and then I was like, now what? Because I knew my body had limitations, right? Genetic or whatever. And so I woke up in the middle of the night. It truly was. It was like one of those, oh, do you know what I should do? I should do something I hate or I'm scared of for an entire year.
Yes.
And then like the 2 a.m. like wake up like, oh, the parameters must be this. Like, and it was just so anti me as a person. But it was the parameters to be like, I had to do it at least twice a month. Had to do it for a year, regardless of how I felt. And that was it. Like, and it had to be something I was scared of or I hated. It didn't matter. So I decided to let my daughter at 4, I don't know, ride horses. And I took her out there, and there's like when you're trotting on a horse in hunter jumper, you post to trot. So you go up when their like leg moves forward and then you come back down. Super simple, right? Up, down, up, down.
Mm-hmm.
And Lauren was 4 and she didn't get it within like 2 lessons. And I said, obviously, she's not getting this up down thing. So we should just pull her and do this when she's older. And the lady goes, why don't you take a lesson? And I thought, oh shit, here it is. Like,
This is
say yes, because I hated the horses. They smelled, they were terrifying.
The horses are just like big mouth. Like, they're scary.
Yeah, you just don't know. And I'm sure that they're like ready to kick you in the face every
Absolutely.
time. You know, like now they're saying, you know, put this bit in their mouth and like reach your finger inside. Like, that was crazy. It was crazy talk. So I started doing it. Oh my gosh, I cannot even tell you. So my nickname growing up was Cautious Cara, like terrified of everything. If the horse would trip or breathe wrong, I was like, oh, what's going on? I don't like, is there something wrong? Like, what am I doing? Is this horse going to take off? These are the most well-trained horses that have ever been, right? Their like last goal in life is to run, right?
Yes.
So I'm on the safest horse. I'm in an arena.
Oh.
I'm not even outside. Like take the visualization of like anything beautiful about this. I am indoors in the safest space area, and I'm terrified. And I would cry. Oh my God, Haley, I would cry going out there. I'm like, I don't want to do this, and it would be smelly and whatever. I think I maybe told the story. So 9 months in, I still hated it. And the guy that was giving me lessons, God bless him, his name was Hutch. He would just like, I mean, you could just tell he just felt kind of a little defeated by me. And he was like, what's your goal? Is to survive the year. That's it. Like, I just need to survive this year. I'm done as of September. And I think we were rolling into July or August, something like that. I don't know. And we go, or well, no, it was about 9 months. So the beginning of the summer. Anyway, outside with this horse, which was like terrifying in itself, because now my like safe walls, and I had gone from, I learned how to walk and trot, and then I cantered a little, which you always canter at the end of lessons. So I would spend the entire lesson like worried about cantering. And I'm telling you, I wish I had video of how slow this is not a gallop, but it feels like that. It feels like you're going so fast, right? And he goes, I want you to point that horse towards that jump. It's not even 18 inches off the ground. It's a cross trail. Like, the horse can step over it. I want you to point that horse towards that jump. He knows what he's doing. Hold on to the mane. Pull your ass out of the saddle and go. I was like, he goes, I don't care. Do it. I went over that jump. I'm pretty sure he stepped over it. But in my world, I fucking Olympic jumped that horse. Like, it was amazing. And I did. I remember it so clearly. I turned, looked at Hutch, and I said, sign me up for the Olympics. I'm in. Let's do this. And I was hooked. And now 3 horses later. Gosh. And then 7 years later. But that's what started it.
Oh, I love the, like, I could just see you when I think about you, like just the horse just stepping over it and you being like, oh my God, I can just imagine it. And it literally makes me almost cry laughing because it is so, like the visualization of you just cracks me up.
I'm sure I looked like as close to the fetal position on the back of a horse as you can get.
Yes,
But in my head, you could have put me on a calendar. I mean, that was like pretty amazing,
absolutely.
actually.
Absolutely.
So,
So you started with the horses
yeah,
and then it went into yoga,
yoga.
right?
Yeah, I decided. So I kind of the fear thing. So I was like, okay, now this year I should do something I hate. So I walked into Hot House and I said, sign me up for a year. And that first class, I looked at my friends that I was on the mat next to, because I was like I rode my bike there. I'm like, oh my God, I do kettlebells, like I do Olympic lifting. I'm going to yoga. Like I need at
Yes.
least some kind of workout, right? So I ride my bike there, and on the way home is all uphill, literally. And I get in there, and it's 100 and like bazillion degrees inside.
Degrees.
It's not even a word.
I
But it
feel
was
that though.
it was so hot, and I don't like hot weather anyway. Like I'm a winter girl to a point, but I in. I looked over and I'm about in tears. Like we started in like some like lizard lunges, and my hip flexors were so flippin' tight. I was like up on like 4 blocks, about in tears. I look at my friend Stacy, who's on the mat next to me. I was like, how long is the class? She was 75 minutes. I was like, what? I mean, so loud. I was like, early. No, no, I'm here for an entire freaking year now. So that didn't take as long. Like
Mm-hmm.
I would say it probably took like 2 or 3 months, and I was hooked
Mm-hmm.
for sure
I remember
with
my
yoga.
first and only time I've taken a hot yoga class. We were doing push-ups in it, and I was like, I was really here for the relaxation, and I didn't go back. But I can only imagine like that being your first introduction to yoga. Not only is it 75 minutes long, but it's hot as fuck. And it's
Oh,
like, this is it? And
I
not
think I
thinking,
died in there.
yeah, saw Jesus a couple times. Yeah. And you're, and then you're thinking like, oh, this is good, not going to be like a workout. Like I'm going to have to add in a work. Like that is hilarious. That is just,
I drained my water bottle during the class, and I like filled that sucker up, drained it right after again. And I think Brian had to like get to work. So I hadn't told him how long I was going to be. So here I'm on the bike, and I'm like, I've got like 15 minutes to bike like 4 miles or whatever. It's
oh
all
my God.
uphill. And so I take off, and I'm like drinking. I can't even tell you how much water I drank. It was so crazy. And then I'm hypermobile on top of all of this. Like
Mm,
heated yoga is great, but not for hyper
mobile.
mobile. Yeah.
So
Yeah. So
did you do like hot yoga for an entire year?
yeah, and that's actually what I did my YPT through Hot
Oh,
House
okay.
too. And it wasn't until, gosh, it took me a long time to figure out that until I opened Benders actually, which is not heated. Um, I didn't realize that that's the heat was causing my joints some some issues, and I would
Mm-hmm.
have like pretty bad joint pain from
Mm,
it. And like I said, this is just my body and
right.
how it landed. I was just too mobile and had
Mm-hmm.
no like I didn't have good parameters with it.
Right. I never thought about that before, but yeah, for people that have like Ehlers-Danlos syndrome or like the hypermobility
Mm-hmm.
or whatever, how that could impact them. That's interesting. And also then I wonder if it could be like more beneficial for people who have like arthritis or like stiff joints, to go into a like a hot studio potentially, but
Yeah.
that's
I
interesting.
haven't done a lot of, but I just know it landed poorly in my body.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So then you opened up Benders.
Yeah. Yep. So Benders was the next fear. Um, opening, I had Catalyst Strength with one of my most favorite humans, Stephanie Hooper, and we had kind of like gone different places. So we didn't open up like our own brick and mortar, but we worked out of Anderson Taekwondo for a while. And then we were in a church in Solon for a while.
Oh my gosh.
Community center. And it was great. It was such a great like experience. I met like humans doing that. But we owned Joe's Place, and right next door to Joe's Place, we had a front that needed filled. And yep, I got out of the shower. Actually, we were talking about that earlier. I got out of the shower and I said, you know what? I should open up a yoga studio.
Wow.
In that spot.
I love this. And I think like I think one of the reasons why I admire you so much is because I just love that you go for it. And it's ironic because I know that you said you were cautious Cara growing up.
Yeah. I think that that's what this did. This year of fear and hate, like it kind of like leaning into the fear, or leaning into something that you perceive that you hate or that you should hate, really makes you examine not just yourself, but like these weird stories that we write for ourselves, right? And when you can lean into it and go for it, like you've just removed so many barriers, like without doing anything except for like learning something new. And all of a sudden, like failure, I'm good at failing. Like it doesn't bother me. I'm like, well, if the business doesn't work, okay, like that was a path. I learned something from it. And I'll either repeat it again in a different way, but I was just listening, and I can't remember who it was that said this, and I'm like kicking myself. I was at the Tend Her Wild. They had a thing at the James Theater in downtown Iowa City. Okay. They did a podcast live, and maybe it was Marianne Williamson that said it, but she was talking about, or God, it could not have been. Maybe it wasn't even that. I don't know. I listened to too many things. I listened to way too many things. But that learning, it's not failure if you learn from it, right? That you're continuing to learn. And so, like, it doesn't scare me anymore. But I used to be so scared to even try anything. And I think, like, when I had AJ, when I did those first couple things, that like when I first ran to the stop sign, like it just removed something from me. It like took a little bit of doubt out of who I could be, or what I thought. I also think having an entrepreneurial husband, he goes for it, and he doesn't play small. I remember watching us sitting there, finding out that Joe's Place was for sale. And we're sitting in the basement. We had gone on our first vacation together. We were in the basement of a La Quinta in in Colorado. And all we wanted to do was go look at the mountains. And it was like, it poured. It was during a drought. And it poured the entire time. And like mountain thunderstorms are a little scary. And our room was in like the basement. So we're sitting in like an old Chicago. We find out Joe's Place is for sale, and he leveraged everything. He had nothing, absolutely nothing, and he went for it. He knew he could. Like he just knew. And so I think like having somebody that close to you that doesn't let it get in the way, right? That pushes that doubt and that fear aside, because they know they've got it within them to figure it out regardless of the outcome.
Yeah. I feel like so often we let like our assumptions of what could go wrong keep us from even playing the game in the first place. And it's funny. I love what you mentioned about wherever you heard it from, that it's not, I always say, like, it's not failing, it's just learning, like failing forward in a sense. Because I talk about that with
Yeah.
students that I coach, because they'll come back and they'll be like, oh, I wasn't able to get active, the last 2 weeks. And it's like, that's okay. And they feel really down about it. But it's like, well, let's talk about why you weren't able to get active. Like, obviously, there were some barriers popped up that we didn't think about before when we were talking. So I like to think of it as that, like, this, like, failing forward. But the funny thing is, I didn't realize until just now, as you were saying that I tell other people to do that, like my coaching clients, but I don't do it for myself. Like, I think about, sure, like this podcast. I mean, I waited like 3 years to even start the podcast because I was so fucking terrified. Or all these other little things that I'm wanting to do with GTB, or just life in general. It's like I totally let the fear of failure keep me from even doing them. And my my best friend, Erin Copeland, she literally just said the other weekend when I was visiting her, because she started her own candle. She's an architect, and she started this like candle company, and it's like blowing up. Yes, like,
That's so
so
cool.
I know, so cool. And she said something along the lines of the like the fear of like regretting not doing something outweighs the fear of failing something. I butchered it. She can say it much more eloquently. But it's like it's hitting me just hearing you say this. Even though I use that technique with students that I coach, I don't embody it at all. And your words, just, they do something to me. They really do. They do.
I think it's so, yeah. I think until we sit down and we look at it, it's like going through the mentorship program. I
Mm-hmm.
realized how many things were clear. Like, I thought that, see how the puzzle pieces of, and it seems so obvious now, right? A Bender's studio and Beyond Barriers, like how that went together. I like
Mm-hmm.
just couldn't see it. All I could see is I probably needed Bender's and having a physical space to give me validity.
Mm.
That's like, I mean, now I look and I'm like, what? That doesn't
Mm-hmm.
even make sense. But I think it's, it's just getting clear on that, like what really is stopping me. And it's not like that horseback riding, you know, has, it's changed my life. It's that, there's no doubt about that. But it's not like horseback riding has a lot to do with everything else that I do.
Yes.
But or even yoga in some ways. But it's that, you know, trying something every day that makes you a little worried. And it's
Mm.
how I like to teach my yoga classes. I like to, like, even if it's really calm, I'm like, okay, has everybody here done crow? And everybody looks at me, or has everybody here done headstand? And they like, where'd that come from? I'm like, okay, well, if it makes you nervous, let's do it.
Yeah.
you know,
Yes.
in my like try to have yoga teacher voice, because then it moves other barriers
Mm.
that you've already set in your way, or at least that's how I see it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the cool thing that you do, and I don't even know if you realize it, is like you give people permission. You you give people permission to try something and to fail at something. And I think like giving receiving that permission to be like, it's okay if you fuck up, it's okay if it doesn't work out, like you're gonna learn something. But someone giving you permission to do that, it feels so good. And I can imagine, like, because I've taken yoga classes with you before, and yeah, just like we're just gonna play around. Like, you know what? If your feet don't come off the ground in crow, like, can you get on your tiptoes? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like the permission that you give people to, I mean, I think it's one, showing up exactly as they are, because it's like however you show up today is exactly as you're supposed to be. It's perfect. But then also permission to like not do it perfectly and to not do it fully or whatever it is. Like, the permission to fail is just, that feels really good. It feels so freaking good.
It's, I think as women,
Mhm.
especially, like I always say, I'm not a perfectionist, and I'm not. But it's funny, the things that I do repetitively, that I repeat.
Yeah.
I can't come up with that word.
Repeatedly,
Anyway,
repetitively. Yeah.
repetitively. There it is. Like every new Beyond Barriers event, a little bit more anxious than the last. Like the first one was like, woo, just see what happens. No big deal. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. And now I'm like, oh gosh, and I should know what I'm doing for something. So I think I like put a little bit more on myself with all of that. But I do think that, where was I going with that? I got kind of lost. Sorry.
Yeah, like as women, as
that perfectionist, like that we need to be, that we need to put on the perfect wedding, that we need to keep our house tidy, that we, like our kids need to be a certain way, that they're a reflection of us, and which I think is just the most asinine thing. No, they are a reflection of them. Give them to them. It's not about us. I think that we're always like trying to strive for this thing, and that doesn't exist, and we don't want to be. Like, who wants to be perfect? Like, that sounds A, exhausting,
boring,
and B, fucking boring.
Fucking
like
boring.
I want to surround myself with people that are willing to try the crow and fall on their face, or say, you know what, all I got is like put my hands on the ground today. Yes, sister, yes. Put your hands on the ground and then sit down and lay down, take a nap. Like,
twerk and then twerk.
Yeah. Do what feels good. Because we don't do that either. Like, we strive for perfection, and we move away from pleasure. And I like, if we could just flip those things and move towards pleasure and say screw it and move away from imperfection, like, oh, how yummy does that feel?
Wow. I've never thought about perfection and pleasure being like being on opposite ends of a spectrum. That is so, I'm having a mind blown moment. Like, because I feel like as someone who is type A, who I have severe anxiety, and because of these like perfectionistic tendencies, and then like the body image issues ensue because of some of that perfection, everything. It's wild to think that in my head, I've always thought perfection would lead to the pleasure, would lead to the feel good. And what you just said is like, it's almost the opposite of, and maybe for some people it does end up that way, but let go of the perfection. Even if it is the perfection that gives the pleasure, just focus on the pleasure. Like, that is, whoa, Cara.
Well, I think it's, what you talk about a lot in your podcast is, it's that embodiment of, or like really feeling inside, and tapping into, it's mindful movement. Really, like, okay, what is landing? What feels good inside me? And why are we so opposed to moving towards that and repeating that feeling, whether it's something that we're giving ourselves or something that we're doing with somebody else, like, I mean, I think I moved away, like, pleasure seemed like such a naughty word for so long, or feeling good about yourself. Oh my God, I'm like 45 and I'm still learning how to say thank you for telling me I look nice today, because that feels really good to hear. That's pleasurable, it feels good to hear those things. And yet we like, oh, no. Instead of, oh, give me more.
Yes, tell me more about how good I look. Yes. Oh, that's so true. I'm curious. Well, for one, I want you, can you talk a little bit more? We've mentioned Beyond Barriers. Can you talk more about what Beyond Barriers is? Because it is amazing, and I know a lot of the folks that listen to this podcast are local, and I want them to hear all about what you do and the opportunities that they have to connect with you. So tell us more about Beyond Barriers.
Yeah, so Beyond Barriers is, it basically is events that are designed for women to start to remove their own barriers, to see their power through the stories of other women. And I love those women to be from the community where we hold the events. And it's kind of my goal to get into different communities, especially, starting in the state of Iowa. Maybe it goes bigger, I don't know. But like starting and going into communities so that you can see, first off, you can hear somebody's story coming from their mouth and know who they are in their mind. Small towns are interesting in that way. I came from a small town. I think you did too, right?
Oh, yeah.
And I didn't realize what a big ask it was to ask people from small towns to share their story until I had somebody say, whoa, I mean, some people don't like me. And I was like, well, that sounds great. I like that. Like, I think, yeah, rock the boat. Let's do this together. Like, how can I help you? But I didn't realize before that this was kind of a big ask of people, to be really vulnerable in front of people. But I thought, in front of their neighbors that maybe talk shit about them. It was also important to me that I open up a space where women could come together and learn how to support and lift each other up. That whole idea that I'll have to blow out your candle to make mine shine, or that's not how it goes. But
right, I know what you're trying to say.
I really want to be the person that can pull up close and like, I read in this book. I'm never going to be that person.
Me neither.
I really want to be that though. I wanted to get space for that. So I do these day events where and I love food. I'm married to a restaurateur. So we start with breakfast and we have catered lunch, and it's a full day event, which is also, I get a lot of like, can you make these shorter? No, because you should be willing and able to take a full day for you.
Yes.
No reason. I cannot, I'm going to miss a baseball game. Great, miss it. Your child will be okay, and we'll maybe find out that they're playing baseball for them. What a concept. But it's really hard for women to step away. And usually, like, if you have women from the community, like their friends are like, oh, I want to go hear them speak,
right.
So it kind of starts it. But yeah, it's women from the community. They share their stories, and it's the story that they want to share. And it's usually after the fact that I find, like, I've got the women, I've got the speakers, and then I'm like, oh, I know what the topic is, or I know where this is going. So yeah, it's the day events, and then we're going to do a week long and climb a mountain, removing fear. My God, if we can climb a 14er,
I just like gagged to myself. I just think about like the one time I've been to Colorado, I had such bad, what is it? Elevation.
The altitude sickness.
Yeah, altitude sickness. I felt like I was hungover or drunk the entire time, and I was fine feeling drunk the entire time, but the hungover part, absolutely not. Like,
no, thank you.
But you can't have one without the other these days. So.
Oh, that's my big fear right there, is that I've got somebody that's gonna really struggle with altitude. But yeah, so we're gonna spend a week together glamping, and then our last night we're gonna stay in a poshy little historical mansion in downtown Denver, and cook a meal based off of our doshas and talk about our power and drink wine.
Oh my
drinking.
Gosh, you are so freaking cool.
Oh,
you are so
thank
cool.
You.
Yes.
Thank you.
It is just amazing. Your ability to share. To me, it's so funny because you are bringing women together to share their stories. Meanwhile, your story is like, I mean, everything that you shared today is just, I feel like I get so much, and this isn't the first time I've heard it. It's not the second time I've heard it. I think it's the third time I've heard it, and I'm still just like leaning in, like I can't get enough of it. I think that everything, again, you give people permission, you help women feel empowered to lift each other up rather than tear each other down, and you just encourage people to show up and like you said, reach for pleasure and move towards pleasure instead of perfection. And we need more of you. We need to multiply you, like 3D print you, and just we need you everywhere.
Nothing will ever get done.
Yeah. God.
Just so you know.
You are amazing. You are amazing. I seriously can't thank you enough for just being you. I think you're so awesome. I really do.
I feel the same way. I have like such a fangirl feeling about you. And I know when I met you, I was like, oh, can I hug you? I'm so excited to meet you.
And I was like, no, can I hug you? Oh my God. That was because I had heard so much about you from Leslie, my sister, and just like how you would be at performance, this like group of like badass women, and one day she was just like, can I write a workout for you or something? I don't know. There was some story like that. And I just remember, like, if Leslie thinks that a woman is badass and like tough and strong, then holy shit, she is. Like, it is. I mean, because Leslie is pretty badass, tough and strong in and of
She's
herself.
so cool.
She's so
Yeah,
fucking cool. I
she's
know.
so cool.
I know. I'm really lucky that she's my sister, and my other sister's really cool too. But anywho, and I just remember that I was so influenced by you before I even like met you, and then I saw you at the the Bootbot event, and I was like, oh my God, this woman is amazing. And then when I did my yoga teacher training, well, the first 100 hours at your studio, and I was like, oh my gosh, and I remember you talked to me, and I was like, oh my God, Cara talked to me. And then I meet you, like formally meet you in the coffee shop, and you're like, I'm fangirling. I'm like, no, I'm fangirling. Like, we are so much. I love it. It's amazing.
I think that that's it though. Like you don't have to find, I mean, not that there's anything wrong with a best-selling author, but like truly your power, your people, your inspiration is probably your next door neighbor, or the person that works down the street in the coffee shop. Like all we have to do is like just be willing to listen and hear it, and like it's like seeking for that inner truth outside of you. Like it's just you're not going to find it, but you if you go within, or if you stay, you see your community and you like love it and you go after it, like you can meet the most amazing people, like you.
In you. Cara, where can people learn more about you? Plug all of your things, websites, social media, everything.
Oh gosh, this is like the hard part for me because I'm like, oh.
The good thing is, if you forget anything, it'll all be in the show notes for people. I'll find everything and put it in there. So.
So you can. I'm better on Facebook and Instagram. So Facebook, we have Bender Studio, and we are located downtown Iowa City, and Iowa Avenue, right next door to Joe's Place. We have classes, in-person classes, and I try to do a couple of videos every now and then on Facebook or Instagram. I'm trying to get the reels down. That's like a whole thing.
It takes a lot. They're really fun when you figure them out, but they take a lot of work.
Yeah, I'm exhausted, but I gotta go do one after this. I'm like, what am I gonna do? I can't do the funny ones. Like I really want to do those, but I'm just not clever enough. Oh well.
I know.
I'm living on from it.
I'm hearing more that the voice, like when you do the voiceovers, they're not as engaging as if you just like talk yourself. And I feel like you talking yourself is humorous and inspiring as is. So fuck the voiceovers. Just do your voice,
Just get on there and talk. Yeah. Oh, okay. Year of fear.
Reels.
Reels. But yeah, so I've got Bender Studio, and then you can also Facebook and Instagram, Beyond Barriers Iowa. So somebody took Beyond Barriers before, but Beyond Barriers Iowa, you can find on both of those. And then my website is bendersstudio.com. And you can find all the information about those two things. So I feel like I should, though, share with you my next true year up here because it's just starting.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
You
I know.
have
I don't know why
something?
it has to. Yeah. Yeah. So I am starting. It's going to be a new website called 1 Year, 1 Fear. And I am going to write a book, one blog at a time.
Oh,
in like real life, I guess. Yeah.
holy
I'm
shit.
so excited.
Kara, that is so exciting.
I'm pretty excited. I'm really nervous because I did, like I accidentally fell into 1 Year, 1 Fear when I did my year of documenting my entire quarantine for 408 days. My poor family, like all of our dirty laundry.
I love it. Again, you're real. I love your authenticity.
Oh man. But yeah, so I'm going to I miss writing. I miss that conversation. Like I really like it. And I was going to try to work on a book and it just is not, I don't know, that process didn't work, but the whole idea of a blog and like having a conversation with me and other people seems to work. So I'm going to, each blog will be a chapter, I guess.
Oh my gosh.
So hopefully the website will be done, by July, and I can start kicking it out in August.
Wow. 1 Year, 1 Fear.
Yep.
Oh, you are just unstoppable. It is amazing.
Oh, I'm sure my husband would like some of it.
He's like, well,
enough with adding on.
Oh, but that's the thing. I feel like you can't, like, what you have to say and what you have to share, like, it can't be contained. It needs to be out there. It needs to be in so many different forms, so I appreciate you so much. I think you are fucking awesome. And I really want to thank you for, showing up here and being vulnerable and being you and authentic, even though you were like, you said a little nervous, which didn't even come across. Like, you are awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks so much for inviting me. Like I've been like, oh my gosh, it's almost here. I almost get to be on a podcast and talk to Haley.
Oh.
Right after her wedding.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of GTB. If you're enjoying this podcast, feel free to head on over to Apple Podcasts and rate, review, and subscribe. You can also share this podcast on Instagram and tag me at Give 'em the Bird Podcast. I will see you back here next week for another episode, but in the meantime, go give 'em the bird.